How to Accelerate Siemens Simulations and DOEs with Rescale. I'm Mika, the Product Marketing Manager at Rescale, and presenting today is Fanny, our Director of Solutions at Rescale, and Rahul, Applications Engineer. From Siemens PLM, we are also joined by Keith Boston and Pat Farrell. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. First of all, I am recording this, and I will send out the recording later this week, as well as in our April newsletter at the end of the month. And secondly, if you have any questions during the webinar, please do type them into the questions section in the GoToWebinar panel, and we'll address those at the end of the webinar in a Q&A session. Okay, Fanny, all yours.
Okay, thank you, Mika, and welcome everyone to this webinar. So to start the webinar, I actually borrowed a slide from Siemens, talking about the analysis trends that we see in the industry today. And what we see is the design cycle are getting shorter and shorter. So therefore, for your simulation, you have like a tremendous pressure to get faster turnaround time. What we also see is that the model and the product are getting more and more complex. There's more and more requirements that need to be validated. There's more and more physics that need to be included. So therefore, the model are growing and are getting larger and larger. So with those two challenges, we see that there's a need for HPC, high performance computing, and for parallel processing to be able to run larger model faster. And what we tend to see in companies today is we actually have either no HPC or some limited resources. So the way that Siemens and Rescale would like to address this challenge is through this vision of the digital twin. It's the idea to perform simulations at every step of the development process, from the requirement definition to the system design, to using simulation more upfront in the design process to really try to optimize your design, make it lighter, make it faster. And of course, using simulation during the verification and validation phase to validate that design, to make sure it complies with the requirements. And finally, it's also the idea to start linking your physical model, your product while it's working in operation, with your digital twin model, the virtual representation of your model, and link those data together to keep refining the accuracy of the model. So to be able to realize this vision, we need to be able to accelerate the simulation throughput to be able to do more simulation at every stage of the design process. We also need to increase the confidence in the result and be able to, again, run larger problem that's gonna return more accurate results. We also need to break the silos between the different organizations and make sure that people are collaborating across the development process. So this is the vision that both Siemens and Rescale is trying to realize, and this is what I'd like to talk about today. So how do we do that? So first of all, Rescale provides a open cloud platform that make available all the different Siemens products on the cloud. So on the ScaleX platform, you have access now to NX Nastran, to Sim Centers, to STAR-CCM+, to Technomatics, all the different Siemens products. So this way you can accurately represent your digital twin models with all the different physics. So we make those software available to you, and we make sure that we update them with the latest version, so you always have access to the best capabilities and the most scalable version. Then we also provide you with different licensing system where you can either bring your own license or start tapping into the power of elastic licensing with the cloud. We can also provide you with a SaaS interface that allow you to author your simulation workflows and be able to also pre and post-processing your results interactively by launching the UI into a remote desktop session. And finally, we also provide best-in-class support. You can chat with our experts while you're online on our platform and get answers to your problem right away. So essentially what Rescale does is we take this complicated on-premise HPC stack that's composed of a lot of different middleware and a lot of different services work, and we simplify it and we provide an environment that's turnkey and available from your browser. So you can access all those different tools from your Internet Explorer or Chrome interface and run your simulation this way. So we provide more than 200 different software packages to be able to have a comprehensive, be able to really support all your simulation workflows. And Rescale is also built on a multi-cloud infrastructure. So we support private clouds, hybrid clouds, and private data centers as well. As I mentioned, we also have a SaaS interface that allows you to author your different workflows, and we can support you through this process as well. And we also provide an administrative interface that allows you to manage the different resources, manage your security setting, that allows you to make sure that you have the right filters in place for the different groups, etc. And finally, our platform is secured. We encrypt the data while at rest, but also in transferred, and we have different certifications. So we have SOC 2 certification, ISO 27002. And for those of you that are working in the US in a defense company, we also offer a cloud environment that is ITAR compliant. We have data centers that are across the world. We have more than 57 data centers across 28 locations. And we offer both virtual machine, but also bare metal, depending on your preference and the performance. So why is HPC important? If you look at this NX Nastran model here, we have a 50 million degree of freedom analysis of this wing model. What you see is the more processes you use, the shortest your turnaround time is gonna get. So here specifically, if you run on 4 cores, it's going to take about 400 minutes. And if you run on 500 cores, it's gonna take 10 times less, which is 40 minutes. So it's incredible beneficial for you to try to leverage the power of HPC to reduce the turnaround time of your simulation results. And now you can do it you can really tap into the power of the cloud and be able to scale almost infinitely the number of cores that you're using. So here's a good quote from Dr. Louis Komzak from Siemens PLM. He says, NX Nastran's ability to solve sometimes hundreds of millions of degrees of freedom problems in the shortest time frame possible provides a capability to engineering analysts to positively impact design decisions and is an ongoing focus on Siemens research and development. Another benefit of the cloud is you can also make sure that you leverage the latest hardware and also the most specialized hardware. The trend that we've seen in the industry lately is each different application might run better on different hardware. And we see that hardware getting more and more specialized. So now the time where we're only using just Intel processors is kind of over. Now we have GPUs, we have TPUs from Google. And then if you look at networking features as well, we have InfiniBand, we have NVLink, We have fiber channel. So depending of what simulation you want to run, they might benefit from some hardware better than others. So for example, here on the right, we have a STAR-CCM Plus benchmark. We've run we've varied the number of cores and calculated the speed up. And each line represents a different hardware type. So as you can see, depending on what hardware you use and what networking connection you use, you might have different performance. And maybe in 3 months from now, you might have a new core type or new interconnect capabilities that's going to give you even more better performance. So it's very important to use the latest hardware possible, and the cloud allows you to do that. Another benefit of using the cloud is you can really use your license efficiently. So now I'd like to invite Kit from Siemens PLM to talk about the licensing model for STAR-CCM Plus and how you can really leverage that for the cloud.
Thanks, Fanny. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to join you on this webinar. So as you said, I wanted to talk about Power on Demand, which is our cloud licensing for STAR-CCM Plus. And this is actually hosted by Siemens PLM, and you can use it anywhere there's an internet connection. So it could be from a cloud provider like Rescale or even at your office. And you pay by the hour, so it's ideal for cloud, also for burst or sporadic usage. And as you can see from the chart on the top right there, this gives you an example from a customer that does consulting projects. So their need to run STAR-CCM Plus varies quite a lot month to month, depending on the number and size of projects that they have in-house. So using the on-demand compute resources from Rescale, and you combine that with the Power on Demand licensing, it's a very cost-effective way to handle those bursts in demand. And of course, with Power on Demand, you can also run multiple jobs at once. And this works really just, if you go back one slide there, you can see this works just like a prepaid phone or a Starbucks card. The chart bottom right shows you how you purchase the hours in advance, and you can top up your account as you go. So if you want to go to the next slide now. And with the power licensing, we're really trying to break the link between cores and pricing. So as you saw from Fanny's chart on an earlier slide, STAR-CCM Plus actually scales really well. And with our Power on Demand licensing, it allows you to use unlimited cores. And you only pay for what you use by the hour. And as I said before, you start with kind of prepaid amount, 500 hours, which is valid for 12 months. And as you can see here from the chart on the right, it's the same price. So if you run on 10 cores, 10,000 cores, it really doesn't matter. What we're charging you for is just the time to run STAR-CCM Plus. And that's not true for other CAE codes, which they charge you for more cores. Siemens PLM does not. So hopefully that's a good overview of our Power on Demand licensing, Fanny.
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate that. So we've seen that using the cloud, we can really leverage the scalability of the model and accelerate the turnaround time of your results. We've also seen that you can really tap into the special licensing scheme to pay for what you use and really efficiently use those licenses. But using Rescale, we can also accelerate the productivity of your workflows, your end-to-end workflows. And what this chart shows here is, as you start working with larger models, it's better for you to try to not move those large files around too much. So using Rescale, you can start by uploading your input file into the cloud and then run it on our clusters. Then you can actually post-process and store and manage those files without moving those large files around. All you have to do is start a remote desktop session to start and look at those results without having to transfer it back to your ProMace. If you do want to move it back to your ProMace, we also offer capabilities like multi-threaded upload and download capabilities, automatic files upload and download, And we can also integrate with your on-premise scheduler for seamless kind of cloud bursting experience. It's very also interesting to work in a cloud environment because you can really leverage it to start collaborating with the different stakeholders of your company. Again, without having to transfer files around or email large files or send even hard drives. No, you can simply share a job that you run on Rescale with different team members, so they can also view the results and review the results or review your simulation model. So on that, I'd like to pass the ball to Raul, our application engineer, and he's going to show you how to run a STAR-CCM Plus model on Rescale and how to monitor the job and review the results.
Thank you, Fanny. Hi, everyone. So what you're seeing right now on the screen is the Rescale ScaleX platform. This is the dashboard, and you can see all the jobs I've run. Beforehand, you can see that I actually have some jobs running right now. So let's dive straight into setting up a new job. And to do that, you want to go to the top left corner where you see this button to launch a new job. So the first thing you want to do is name your job so it's easy for you to find later on. So I'm just going to name this a Siemens webinar for now. And looking at this, this is the workflow that Fanny was talking about just now. It's a very simple and easy to use workflow. Looking at the right side, you can see the 5 steps that's required to submit a basic job. So basically, all you have to do is specify your input files, choose your software, choose your command settings, choose the hardware that you would like to run on, and if needed, have a post-processing script, and after that, you're ready to go. So let's start with a demonstration. The first thing we would like to do is right now we are in the input file step, and there's 2 ways you can upload the input files. You can either upload them from your computer directly or use the files from your cloud storage. So for this example, we will be using a file from the cloud storage, and all these files are hosted on the cloud, as Fanny mentioned. So for this STAR-CCM model, we will need a SIM file, which is of 787. You can see it over here, and we also need a Java macro file. There we go. So now that we've added these 2 files, we can move on to the software selection page. So over here, we have a wide variety of software that Rescale offers, but for today, we can do a simple search to pull up STAR-CCM Plus. So on this page, you can see all the different versions that we offer, and we're just going to use the latest one for today, and this is actually the batch command that you would use to submit your jobs. So Rescale generates a template for you for easy usage, and all we have to do is replace the input file with the input file name that you have uploaded. So today, since we're using a macro file as well, we would like to replace this with the Java macro. And just like that, you're ready to go for your software selection. So next, you can choose your license options. For us, we'll be using our on-demand license, and you can even bring your own license to run on Rescale. So once we're done with that, we would like to move on to hardware settings. So over here, you can see all the different hardware that Rescale offers. We have virtual machines, bare metal, and we have some specialized hardware as well. For example, you can use Marble if you like higher memory, higher RAM. We have some GPUs as well if that's what you need. And for today, we'll be using Onyx, which is a VM, and we'll be using 18 cores, which is 1 server worth. And you can scale infinitely as per your needs, and you can set a maximum wall clock time if that's what you need. And also over here, you can actually set up persistent clusters. What that means is that your hardware will stay alive once you are done with your simulation, so you can submit it to the same cluster immediately, and this shortens turnaround time, and it's particularly useful if you're a first-time user to Rescale and you're trying to figure out how to get a model set up. So you can eliminate the startup and shutdown time of the clusters. So you can see over here that already one persistent cluster that's running, and for today I'll just launch a new cluster. Okay, and next is actually the post-processing step. I'm going to skip this for now. I'll give you a demonstration on the next one when we do our DOE on our post-processing script. So once we are done with that, we can actually go to the review page, make sure everything is correctly set up, and once you're good to go, you can just hit submit. So now you are taken to the status page of Rescale. You can see that we'll first validate your input files, make sure that your command is set up properly in case you forgot to change one of the templates. And you go on to start the cluster and proceed with running the job. So while this is going on, I would like to take you back to the dashboard, show you some extra features that Rescale has. So first of all, you can share your jobs with your coworkers. In that way, they can see what you're running and they can have access to your results file as well. So you can do that by hitting the share button over here. And let's say, for example, I would like to share with Fanny right now a message. It's the demo I am doing. And she will have full access to your files and your simulation run. You can also share this job with Rescale support over here in case you need some help setting up the files. That way we can have access to your job and we can advise and help you from there. So you can see that's now shared with one user, and if someone else has shared a job with you, you will be able to see it on your dashboard as well. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to skip straight to a job that's already running. This is the same job that we submitted. And over here, you can see the live tailing feature of Rescale. And what that means is that you can actually access the files that's being generated live. And as you can see that the iterations are being run. We're currently at 832. And for our Java macro that we set up, we're actually outputting image files as well. And you can watch them live right off your web browser. And we also have pictures set up for the streamlines that's being generated. So that's really cool. And we also have a new feature over here, which is in-browser SSH. So just by hitting this, you're taken into a terminal and you can access stuff on your terminal to do maybe some file management, or if you like to add in a restart file and stuff like that. Okay, so now that we're good to go on this, I would like to show you our visualization feature, which is our desktops feature. And to do that, you can go onto the desktops tab over here, and you can set up a new desktop. So we have a wide number of configurations available, and right now we have chosen Windows. After that, we can attach our software to our desktop and choose the license type and your version over here. And additionally, you can attach jobs directly to the desktop, and that way you can just visualize it straight, and you don't have to do any transferring of files, and everything is held within the cloud. But today I'll be showing you the live monitoring of a job through the STAR-CCM GUI, so we will not be attaching any jobs. And once you're done with the setup, all you have to do is hit launch, and you're good to go. So again, in the interest of time, I already have a desktop running, as you can see over here, and we will go straight into the desktop. So there's two ways you can connect to your desktop. Firstly, you can use the RDP client and to visualize your desktop and to access the interface. Or you can use our new feature, which is the in-browser desktop, and that's what we're going to do right now. So this way you can see that you're accessing the virtual desktop right out of your browser. So I'm still within Chrome, and it's pretty good performance. It's really cool. And I'm going to actually connect to my running server right now. So over here, I just need to get the host ID, which is currently in my running job. I have to go here, access my standard output file. So once the STAR-CCM loads up right at the very top, we actually output the details of the network. And right over here, we have the IP address that we need to connect to. I'm just going to copy that over. Because of in-browser desktops, there's this intermediary clipboard that you need to use. And that's not applicable if you're using the RDP client straight, so no worries about that. So once you're done, you can connect to the server and you can see we're actually connected to the job that's running right now, or that I launched previously. And if you go to plots and residuals, you can see the residual plot has been carried on. So this job has been running for about 30 minutes now, and you can access the geometry scene of the aircraft, your mesh scene, and yeah, so that's how you live monitor your job. So now I'd like to pass the ball back to Fanny. I'm going to pull up the slides now, and she will take you down, and I'll see you again for another presentation.
Thank you, Raul. So it was great demonstration. We've seen that using the Rescale SAS interface, you're able to really author those workflow and run a STAR-CCM Plus very easily on batch without being an HPC expert. We've also seen that you're able to automatically through the Rescale interface visualize some of the key images that like the residual plot or some JPEG of your results. But you can also interactively running the STAR-CCM GUI interface to actually monitor your results interactively without really moving files around. So next slide. So now another benefit of the cloud is like what we've seen so far is you can really use the cloud to take advantage of the scalability of your model. But another benefit of the cloud is you can run tons of different configurations at the same time. You can run multiple different jobs at the same time. You're not limited by resources anymore. And Rescale offers a framework that allow you to do that, to allow you to really easily start linking different tools together, like for example, STAR-CCM and NX Nastran, and run tons of different configuration and parameter sweep of those analyses. So this way you're able to increase the performance of your design by exploring a lot of different configuration and pick what is the best design for you. And if we look at, I'm sure if you look at your simulation practices today, a lot of your practice are very well-established standards or even parametric model that you could really you can start really thinking about how you could actually optimize those and run tons of different configurations. Next slide. So I'd like to now pass the ball to Patrick, who's going to talk about how NX Nastran's license on the cloud has been specifically designed to take advantage of this really ability to run a lot of different jobs at the same time and explore your NX Nastran design simulation. So Pat?
Yeah, thank you, Fanny. And also thank you again for allowing us to be a part of this webinar today. So I want to talk a little bit more about NX Nastran and how we license it through the Rescale platform. So I'm going to start here talking initially with the basic license configurations that we have. And Fanny already touched on this a little bit at the beginning of the presentation, but basically there's really two kind of main configurations that we have for licensing. BYOL, which stands for bring your own license. And then we have the software as a service configuration as well. So with the first option, the BYOL, can be very advantageous if you're already an NX Nastran customer. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to use your existing NX Nastran license that you already have, but use it with the NX Nastran deployment that's available on Rescale. So Rescale will access your on-premise license server via tunnel. And then you might opt for this option when you wish to use your own NX Nastran licenses, but you're looking to expand your hardware capacity. So this allows you to, if in cases where you might have a large model that you need to run all of a sudden that you don't have enough hardware capacity in your own environment on premise, you might then want to use your own NX Nastran license on Rescale to get more unlimited access to various hardware. So the other model is called software as a service, and this allows you to purchase NX Nastran usage via a subscription or on a per run per hour usage. So both the licenses and the software are then provided by Rescale, along with the choice of hardware configurations that you just also saw in the demonstration. So the SaaS model might be preferred if you wish to minimize upfront costs associated with purchasing the software and hardware if you don't have any NX Nastran licenses at all. Or again, you might also wish to use the software as a service configuration if you have some NX Nastran existing licenses, but again, you might have a spike in work usage where you're using up all your licenses in-house. You might need to expand on a short-term basis the number of NX Nastran licenses that you have access to. So the software as a service configuration is also good for that. So just finally, also with this slide, I just want to mention that what I'm talking about here is strictly, again, with software licensing. Hardware is still charged on a per cost or charged on a per price per core per hour usage through Rescale as well. Next slide. So another advantage to using NX Nastran on the Rescale platform is for design of experiments, or otherwise we call them DOEs, investigations. So DOEs help you to evaluate the robustness of your design by repeatedly solving the same model, but by varying a number of parameters within that model for each iteration. You can then investigate which parameters have the most impact on the design's performance and how certain parameters relate to each other. DOEs can be valuable in getting a deeper understanding of your product, but the cost of performing DOEs has typically been prohibitive. With traditional software licensing, that's been an obstacle to wider use of DOEs because it requires you to purchase a multitude of solver licenses to be able to run the number of simulations needed concurrently for a DOE. The other downside is that DOEs also tie up your on-premise hardware, which means your hardware becomes a bottleneck for all the other simulations that your company needs to perform. And just managing all of the DOE jobs that are running takes another level of effort on top of all these challenges I just mentioned. Next slide. So however, Rescale and Siemens have made it much easier and more cost-effective to run a DOE with NX Nastran on the Rescale platform. So with our partnership, we're able to offer scalable parallel pricing for NX Nastran specifically for DOE runs. This means the cost per run per hour decreases with the number of runs you perform for your DOE. Rescale also helps to simplify the complexity of performing DOE by managing the job submittal process and the input deck variation required to perform the DOE. What this means to you now is that you can drastically reduce the cost required to perform a DOE without having the additional IT and hardware expenses you would have with doing a DOE on your own on-premise systems. The next slide. So just to give you a clearer idea of the cost savings of performing a DOE with NX Nastran on Rescale, let's look at this example. Let's first consider what it normally might cost you to perform a DOE without the special pricing that we have for this. In this case, using the NX Nastran Advanced module, a single run costs $27.38 per run per hour. If we were to use this price as a basis for a DOE run that might require 100 parallel runs over 2 hours, for say, your total cost for that DOE is close to $5,500. But now let's look at the same use case, but instead you're now using Rescale. The price for running an NX Nastran Advanced DOE within the Rescale platform depends on the number of runs. In the case of running 100 parallel runs, the price is $219 per hour. So to perform the same DOE over 2 hours within Rescale only costs you $438. And that's only, that's over 90% less than what would have cost under the standard licensing model. So again, this is just strictly the software licensing part of it. the hardware pricing also has a separate piece to that, but really you see a drastic difference just in the software licensing alone. So now that you've seen the cost advantages of using NX Nastran on Rescale for DOEs, I'll hand this presentation back over to Fanny, or maybe it's Raul who'll now take it over for and show you a demonstration of using NX Nastran DOE on Rescale.
You did it. So Raul, if you wanna, Raul's gonna now show how to run NX Nastran on Rescale and how to run a DOE automatically.
Thank you, Fanny. So welcome back. I'm going to show you how to run the DOE. And over here, I already have a DOE set up, and I'm just going to clone this job, which is another another feature that Rescale has. And this way, you can duplicate your job setup, and you can iterate faster. So over here, you can see that the workflow is slightly more elaborate. It's different because now our job type is currently a DOE, which is what we want. And what we have over here is basically some parallel settings for you to declare the different variables that you need for each run, a template, which is the input file that will have its variables replaced, and the rest should be familiar to you. It's just the software and hardware settings. So going straight into the parallel settings, this is once again where we define the values of the variables that we would like substituted. So over here, you can see that I have uploaded a CSV, and I have, I think, about 16 runs over here with various coefficients of expansion. So one of it is for our for the honeycomb material, and one is for the other composite material. So actually, just let me show you the model that we're running. This is actually a satellite dish that is has a honeycomb structure inside, and is made of different composite materials layered over each other. So we will actually be varying the thermal expansion coefficients of the materials to figure out what's the best configuration for us. So once we have our parallel settings set up, actually you can also do a manual specification of your variables over here. You can give your variable name like what I did, give a minimum value, maximum value, and the increment. And the cross product simulation will actually give every single permutation of the variables that you specify. Or you can also do a Monte Carlo simulation. So for now, I'm going to use the CSV file that I already have set up. And going into the templates. So in the case of NX Nastran, it's actually the input.dat file. And let me show you what that looks like over here. So under the material section over here, I'm actually replaced one of the values with a placeholder, and this is what variable that will be substituted from the step we saw beforehand. So in this case, we are changing the thermal coefficient of this material right here and of the honeycomb core material over here. All right, so now that we have done that, we go into software settings to make sure everything's set up correctly. In this case, you can see that the software we selected is NX Nastran version 11, and this is the command over here. And once again, we have multiple templates for you to choose from, which would simplify the process of setting up a job. And once again, you can choose the hardware. We have selected a separate hardware, a different hardware from just now, which is nickel. And over here, you can see the slightly different in selecting a number of cores you would like. So this box on the left is what you saw just now. Is basically a number of cores that you would like per run. And the number of task slots is the number of parallel tasks that you would like to run at the same time. So in this case, we have 2 runs running in parallel, each running on 16 cores. And if you want them to move much faster, you can just increase the number of task slots or the number of cores over here. So as promised just now, I told you about the post-processing script. So in this case, I've actually set up a post-processing script to parse out some of the data on the output file. So taking a quick look at it, it's just trying to parse out the FI number and of these composite materials on this particular ply, which is ply 1, and ply 9, which are the critical elements in this case. So I'll show you what this post-processing script does in a while. And once you're done, hit over to the review page and you can hit submit and you're good to go. So once again, in the interest of time, I've already run the DOE for you guys. And you can see here that I have 16 runs, which is the number of variables I had declared just now. And you can see that all the runs are actually packaged nicely. And if you go into an individual run, you can see all the output files for that particular run. And over here, on the right-hand side, you can see all the data that I passed out over here with the post-processing script. So in this way, in just one glance, you can see how the run performed. And if you go back to this dashboard over here, you can see how the values change as we change all the coefficients over here. So the FI number that we passed out, as long as it's below 1, it's considered safe. So you can see that everything over here is below 1, so we're actually good to go. All right, so once we are done with our results page, we can actually head over to the charting functionality that Rescale has that's built in. So we can choose our x-axis and our y-axis, and we can actually chart out the results. And in this case, I think a surface chart would be more relevant to us. And you can see how we can just simply select different results and visualize that. And hopefully, if it's good, if not, you can just set up another run using our clone feature and just make minor tweaks. And in this case, if you use the surface graph over here, you can perhaps visualize your results slightly better in this case. So yep, that's the end of the demonstration, and I'll pass it back to Fanny.
Thank you, Rahul. Sorry. So, so we've seen that again through the Rescale STAR interface, you're able to set up pretty easily a DOE and parameter sweeps. In that case, we changed the material properties of the composite layup and generated tons of different configuration of those layups to see what's the one that works the best. And using the post-processing script and XYZ charts, you're also able to quickly visualize the different kind of key values and quickly decide what is actually my best design or what is my best composite layup. And again, using the Nastran kind of special DOE license on the cloud, you're able to do that cost efficiently as Pat showed. So next slide. So can you build it up? So overall in this presentation, we've seen that traditionally you're gonna queue all your job up, and you're gonna waste a huge amount of time doing that. So using the cloud and using Rescale, you're now able to actually run those jobs concurrently at the same time instead of subsequently one after the other. So that really saves actually a lot of time already. And then what we've seen also at the beginning of this presentation is your STAR-CCM Plus model or your NX Nastran model are all like pretty much scalable. So the more cores you use, the also fastest the results will be. So there's really kind of two different dimensions on how you can use the cloud and Rescale to save time here. Next slide. So in summary, we saw that you're able to accelerate the design exploration with Rescale using the DOE framework and look at different configuration at once. You're also able to automate your standard simulation processes by using post-processing script, by using the DOE framework to kind of automate those parameter sweep analyses as well. We've seen that you're able to really save tremendous amount of time by using the latest hardware, by using more cores, by running jobs concurrently. And finally, we've also seen, thanks to the explanation from Pat and Keith, that you're able to use your Siemens licensing a lot more efficiently and reduce the actual cost of your license by running on more hardware. So on that, I think we can move to the next slide. And Mika will talk a little bit about some incentives that we have for you to try Rescale.
Okay, thanks, Fanny. That wraps up the presentation and demo portion of our webinar. We'll move on to Q&A next. So now is the time to type in your questions at the bottom of the GoToWebinar panel. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that, and while you're doing that, I just want to point out for those who are, as a thank you for attending today's webinar, all attendees will receive a $20 Rescale credit that's valid for usage, hardware usage on the Rescale platform. You'll receive the code in an email from me following up after this webinar sometime this week. And you'll need to sign up for an account at www.rescale.com/signup, and then my email will contain further instructions on how to apply the code. So while we're waiting for questions, I'm going to kick things off with a question. Let's see. Keith, can you tell us, is it possible to use my existing STAR-CCM Plus Power Sessions license on Rescale?
Yeah, thanks, Mika. So yes, it is. I think as you saw, Rahul covered this in the demo, and also Pat talked about bringing your own license or BYOL for NX Nastran. So for STAR-CCM Plus, as an alternative to the power on demand licensing we talked about, users can bring their own license, and the license server at your office can be used to securely connect to the Rescale ScaleX cloud portal using a standard secure shell or SSH tunnel. So it is possible to BYOL or bring your own license if you already have that for STAR-CCM Plus.
Great, thank you. Fanny, this one's for you. How can I review license and hardware consumption?
So we haven't looked at it today, but we also have an administrating portal that allows you to look at if you're the administration for your company, you're able to see per users, per group, per project, who's using what, and you have a dashboard of the licensing for Nastran, and also the hardware in general, what's being used exactly.
Okay, next question, Fanny. I think maybe you could answer this. Is it possible to use the Adena solver?
Okay, this is Mark Donnelly with Siemens. I think the question is asking about the embedded Adena solver in NX Nastran. We have a special nonlinear solution called Solution 601 in Nastran based on the Adena solver, and currently that is not available through Rescale. So we don't support that at this time.
Okay, thanks for chiming in, Mark. Next question is, do you have STAR-CCM Plus hardware speed benchmark? Fanny, can you answer that?
We do have STAR-CCM Plus benchmark, and we're happy to work with you on generating some of, using your model to generate some of those benchmarks as well. So please contact Rescale sales, Rescale information, and we'll follow up with you.
Okay, are there any further questions? Now is the time to type them in. If not, it's almost the end of the hour. I did realize that I forgot to mention to invite you back to our next webinar, which will be on deep learning. The title is Deep Learning on Rescale 101, and we'll be hosting that at the same time on May 24th, so please join us for that. All right, I don't think there are any further questions, so I'll just take the opportunity to thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.